Isn't a tier just someone's opinion? So in theory, people pick up a character based on someone's opinion rather than a character they like, but not. Yes. If you tempted me into going into my tier list rant again, I don't. Okay, I try and truncate the whole thing because if I go on this thing, I'm going to be talking about it for 10 minutes. Everyone's going to leave because they're tired of hearing this shit. But yeah, tier lists have their uses. I'm not like so anti-tier lists that I see no value in them. And I realize a lot of the issues with tier lists is how people perceive them, not necessarily the tier list in and of itself. But yes, a tier list is ultimately someone's opinion based on their perspective, which could mean a lot of things. Is this, if a person qualifies it, it can mean a lot more. But if a person just throws a tier list out there, what does it actually mean? Is this meant to convey what's good at high level or professional play specifically, high level play, online play, offline play, mid-tier play, low-level play, newbie play? Does it take everything into account and try and create an average? If it's professional-only play, how does that factor in to how everyone else plays the game? Sometimes it's more applicable than others in certain games, other times not so much. There's also basically people's perception of the tier list is going to be different. Like, how much stock are they putting into it? Do they take it as the word of God and mean lower tier can't possibly beat higher tier? How much difference is there in the tiers between games? Sometimes there's bigger differences, sometimes there's basically next to none. One thing tier lists are good at identifying a lot of the time is extreme outliers, but that should be obvious. You don't need a tier list to tell you that in, I don't know, what's a good example? What's a fighting? Aswell on release in Street Fighter Full Caliber was ridiculously out of line. He was an outlier. He was S+ tier, and it made sense that S+ tier existed in the case of a release Soul Calibur. Conversely, what's a really terrible character? I don't know, Ganondorf in Smash Melee or something. I don't know Melee, or Smash, but allegedly he was horrifyingly bad. So he was an actual outlier. So it stood to reason that, yeah, if you actually pick some of these characters, your chances of winning go up or down. But again, it can't possibly take into account people's play styles, how people play the game on average, whether that's going to factor into how strong a character is. Just stuff like that. So, I don't know. There's a lot of issues with it, and that's the short version of my rant. As hard as that is to believe, but the general message is take tier lists across pretty much any game with a grain of salt. They're good at identifying outliers. At the end of the day, you look at tier lists, I guess, but don't take them as the word of God and base everything around them specifically. Always know what you like to do. Because at the end of the day, if you play a high-tier character that you hate, unless there's something very wrong with you, and there's something very weird about you, you probably won't play the game nearly as much and won't want to be enthusiastic about it. Sign on to the game, practice stuff in training mode, because just mechanically to you, it's unappealing. You're probably going to get frustrated more easily too, and maybe more likely to go on tilt in a match. If you're playing something you actively like playing, you'll be having fun, you'll probably want to play more, you'll play more effectively while you're playing, you can probably play for longer periods of time, you'll actually want to go into training mode to get better at the character. So again, unless you're playing Ganondorf from Melee or Fong from Season 1 Street Fighter or something like that, your character pick is probably fine. One last point, an issue with tier lists is people in general, as a general kind of humanity sort of rule, because it's the easy way out, we'll look at external factors, and it becomes far too easy to blame things like that character is overpowered or my character is underpowered, as opposed to looking at underlying issues why you might not be doing so well. Sometimes, sure, there is a imbalance thing, but people, because it's so easy to blame things that are not yourself, I think a lot of people fall into that trap of, oh, look at the tier list, I stood no chance, or even in close matches, well, if I'd been playing a slightly better character, I would have won. I don't, so. And this is not just a fighting game thing. This is an everything thing. Just, you want to mitigate those external factors that you might be likely to blame that you don't really have control over. Frostbite, Frost. I actually don't even know what the Frost variants are because I don't know what Frost does. But yeah, Sneaky, like if you're enjoying yourself, I'm sure you can make it work. Okay, like I said, that was the short version, and that probably was. But I'm going to stop now. Otherwise, I'll just keep going. Because here's the thing, I've done this discussion, and it's not just fighting games, Every competitive game I've played over the years, you can make a very, very similar sort of discussion out of it, similar talking points. So in a sense, I've had this discussion before many times, just not so much in the fighting game context. Get hate for maining Aaron Black? Yeah. Well, I mean, if you like the character, I'm not, no one should hold that against you. If I play Aaron Black and keep beating someone, are they justified to say I'm winning because I'm using him, or are they just weak? Well, I mean, they should have, like, that's the thing, Everyone... I don't think Aaron Black is so out of line that he doesn't have weaknesses that you would theoretically counter. Granted, they might have to work a bit harder than you if they're, let's say playing... What's largely considered the weakest character in the game? D'Vorah, maybe? I don't know. Like, maybe they have to work a bit harder than you, but... at the end of the day, player skill is the determining factor. It's not like, you stick some spamming online noob onto Aaron Black and then put him up against, a semi-decent player on D'Vorah. It's not like the Aaron Black's going to win, Just do everything in your power to try and win out. Like, I was playing against Scorpion earlier. I feel like maybe I was at a slight disadvantage. I'm not saying I would have beaten that guy if Kotal Khan was better or something like that. I might have been able to make it a bit closer. But no, that guy was very familiar with Scorpion. He was using all his tools very well. I need to learn that matchup. It's not like, oh, Kotal Khan sucks. I fuck this game kind of thing.